¿Qué onda, señores? ¿Cómo están? Buenas noches. Bienvenidos a este live de jueves. Esta semana hemos estado ahora sí con muchas cosas desde videos, reels, ahorita probando lo de las muestras, pero ahorita con este live. Entonces, bueno, pues la verdad es que muy contento de estar otra vez aquí con ustedes. Con bastante frío. No sé ustedes por dónde anden, pero aquí lloviendo con un poquito de frío. Denme un segundo, estoy tratando ahorita de revisar si me puedo conectar. A ver, aquí. Estoy tratando. Necesito tener mi, ¿cómo se dice? Mi monitor para estar revisando esto. Denme un segundito. Pero bueno, mientras, acompáñenos a que estén por acá. Déjame ver. Listo. Vamos a ver si por aquí está funcionando todo. Ajá. Según yo sí. Ahí vamos, ahí vamos. Díganme si suena algo. Digo, si no llegara a sonar o algo. Pero bueno. Lucas Gil, ¿cómo estás, bro? Eduardo, mañana iré a la boutique. Voy desde Colombia. Oye, pues muchas gracias por visitarnos desde Colombia. Te agradezco. Creo que te vas a pasar bien. Aparte, mañana... bueno, hoy llegaron algunas cositas nuevas, entonces te va a tocar tener chance. Rubén Quintero, ¿por qué la chamarra? Acá andamos a 100, no, hombre, acá está haciendo frío, está lloviendo. Esta semana ha estado lloviendo todo el día en la Ciudad de México y hoy sí, un poquito más frito, más frito. Ahí vamos. Rush Power, saludo desde el norte de Sinaloa, gracias Master por toda la información. Luego visitamos tu tienda en México, acá en Sinaloa, mucho calor. Ok, fíjense, estamos en el extremo. Hola Eduardo, soy Mario Cuervo de la primaria, super fan de tu canal. Ahora Mario, ¿cómo estás? ¡Qué buen pedo! ¿Cómo has andado? ¡Qué buena onda! Y qué fregón que te guste el canal y que te gusten los perfumes. Ahí sí me da mucho gusto verte. Fíjate que la otra vez, curioso, bueno, no la otra vez, habrá sido que como un mes, algo así, subí un video porque me salió una madre de el mejor intro que ha habido hasta ahora en el Nintendo y era de Killer Instinct y me acuerdo perfecto que cuando estábamos jugando Killer Instinct era en tu casa. Entonces, qué buena onda, Mario. Vamos a ver. José Antonio Ambros, buenas noches desde Barcelona, España. José, mil gracias por acompañarnos. Me imagino que por allá ya es tardecito, entonces te agradezco el que estés acá. El Davis, Team Frío. Hijo, a ver, me gusta, o sea, yo soy más de frío que de calor, sin lugar a dudas. Nada más, ¿cómo se llama? Porque aparte puedes usar otro tipo de perfumes, no sé, creo que me gusta un poco más, ¿no? Vamos a ver. Sí va a estar chido Mexen, no, hombre, Luis, va a estar poca madre. Por cierto, mil gracias a todos los que ya compraron su boleto. Les tengo que decir, la verdad es que iniciamos, se puede decir que abrimos el cordón el lunes. Al día de hoy solamente nos quedan 4 mesas disponibles de expositores, olvídate ¿cómo se llama? De invitados. Entonces, la verdad es que está padre. Nos tenemos que poner ahora sí, ¿cómo se llama? A tope. Este año queremos tener algunas pláticas, algunos invitados. Ahorita ya hemos estado ahí empezando a platicar con gente que quiere compartir algo en la expo. Y, por ejemplo, la otra vez se acercó una persona muy cagado porque llegó a la tienda y me dijo, oye, fíjate que yo me dedico a hablar justamente pues de la flora, ¿no? Mexicana, cosa que muchas veces no se habla, ¿no? Que es endémico de acá. Y dije, uy, está increíble. Entonces, sí, posiblemente vamos a estar teniendo mucho más. A ver. Me agarraron una agüita. A ver si esto abre. ¿Qué piensas de Mysterious Oud de Bornikov? Un perfume muy rico. Fíjate que Mysterious Oud, Monarch Oud, Oud Maximus, son estos perfumes de Bornikov que son perfumes con oud, no son perfumes de oud. Entonces, además del oud, vas a tener rosas, almizcles, flores, ylang-ylangs, castorios. Entonces, es una composición con oud. Si lo que tú estás buscando es un oud más bien más presente y que sea la nota central, creo que lo que tendrías que estar buscando es más bien como Ud Indi, Ud Lao, por ese sentido, del mismo pórtico, ¿va? Buenas noches, un saludo desde Costa Rica. A los, muchísimas gracias por acompañar. A los diablos, ok. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. ¿Qué opinas del nuevo Symmetry de Sarah Baker, el extracto? El nuevo Symmetry de Sarah Baker, el extracto. ¿Te refieres a la presentación? Porque no es... A ver, igual ahí hay una confusión. Cuando Sarah eliminó las botellas EDPs y convirtió todo a la nueva forma, al nuevo formato, hubo algunos que sí subieron a concentración extracto. Symmetry no fue eso. Y yo me acuerdo que cuando hablaba con Sara, le dije, ¿por qué? Me dijo, no jala. Symmetry en extracto huele distinto, no sé qué. Para esto iba a ser Mexen 2023. Y le dije, oye, pues a ver, tráetelo, ¿no? Para conocer. Entonces, cuando vino a Mexen, me trajo una botella. Me dijo, güey, si te gusta, lo hacemos y lo pones en tu boutique. Tú me dices, no, se destruye. Rarísimo, rarísimo, pero no es un perfume que funcione en extracto. Ahora, para que no te confundas, viene en la nueva presentación, para que todos se te vean igual, pero dice EDP. Va. ¿Qué opinas de Meidan, de Spirit of Dubai? Chulada. Es este perfume de oud, cuero verde. Me encanta. Sí, es un perfume muy bueno. Muy, muy bueno. Buenas noches, Eduardo. Tu favorito de Argos. Como para, o sea, dependiendo para qué lo quiero. Uno de los que más me gusta ahora puede ser Danae. Creo que es un perfume muy limpio, muy sexy, versátil. Me gusta mucho. Sin embargo, a ver, el Triunfo de Baco como que es el que más cercano al corazón, sobre todo en la versión extracto. Me gusta bastante. Sacred Flame, muy bueno, pero ese sí creo que necesitas estar hasta cuando un clima como el de hoy, todavía más en otoño, invierno, porque siento que sí es un perfume más cálido, ¿no? Saludos desde Torreón. Rob, mil gracias por acompañarnos. Acá andamos. En un segundo estoy tratando de ver. A ver si ahora ya me puedo conectar. Que aquí le robé el celular a Pía. No sé si puedo ingresar o no, no tengo ni idea. Y esto es para poder monitorear, porque obviamente, como saben, yo ahorita estoy haciéndolo en una plataforma que se llama StreamYard. Entonces, no te creas, yo no puedo ver quién está, ni mucho menos. Entonces, normalmente hago este cheat, pero pues no me deja verlo. Qué raro, qué extraño que no me deje verlo. En fin. Bueno. Saludos desde Nueva York. ¿Has visto algo de Mae, Cepao y Ponza, perfumes de España? No conozco Mao, Cepao, me suena. Ponza sí los conozco, pero no este de Mae, Cepao. Creo que me suena, creo que estuvimos con ella. Chaparra, ¿te acuerdas? Cuando estuvimos en la mesa el año pasado, que tuvimos como unas citas lightning. No me acuerdo si fue con ellos que también estuvieron. Creo que sí. Ok. Hola Eduardo, saludos desde Lima. ¿Has probado la colección Ibiza de Monegal? No lo he probado. Tengo que hacerlo. Me han recomendado varios, entonces ahí lo tengo pendiente. Qué buenos recuerdos con los videojuegos. Hoy voy a sonar sin clase tal vez, pero estoy buscando algún perfume que huela lo más parecido posible. Uy, se cortó. Perdón. ¿Me escuchan? Ustedes díganme si sigue sonando. No, se cortó. ¿Qué estará pasando? Ustedes díganme si se ve. Bueno. Ok. Bueno. ¿Me escuchan? Nada más díganme si se escuchan. Bueno, se escuchan, pero yo no me veo. Denme un segundo porque por alguna razón, ahí está. Ya. No sé, repito, igual está empezando a llover y el internet vuela, quién sabe. No recuerdo, Mario, cuál es el Axe Adrenaline. Dijo hace años, no, seguramente lo siguen vendiendo. Déjame leerlo y a ver si se me hace que huele algo por ahí, cabrón. Pero sí, no, buena pregunta. Entonces, pero me lo apunto. Neandertal Light es complicado. dependiendo qué conoces. A mí me parece uno de los mejores perfumes. No, o sea, lo siento completamente nicho, raro, distinto, porque no has olido nada parecido. Sin embargo, no es algo que así, ¿qué es esto? Tienes que estar ya en la curva. Por ejemplo, es un perfume que cuando lo enseño gusta. Es uno de los perfumes favoritos de Ana. Entonces, no creo que tengas ningún problema. No lo consideraría complicado en ese sentido. Si lo único que te has usado, no sé, son colonias, pues que sí saques una onda, pero no sé. ¿Qué opinas de Rose Queer de Frederic Malle? A mí se me asemeja a Encelade, pero con un cuero más potente. Fíjate que no lo tengo en la colección, no sabría decirte. Hace tiempo no lo huelo, cabrón. Perdón. Me gustó una reseña que le hiciste al perfume Cherry Punk. En unos días iré a tu tienda a probarlo. Te va a encantar, Ángel. Es uno de los bestsellers en la tienda, sin ningún problema. Oigan, pues, a ver, les platico. El día de hoy tenemos un invitado especial, que es Joseph Quartana. Ya es la segunda vez que está en el canal con nosotros. Entonces, vamos a estar platicando de un nuevo lanzamiento que nos acaba de llegar a la boutique y que quiero que nos platique cuál es la inspiración detrás de todo esto. Entonces, espero que nos acompañen, espero que ahorita que cambiemos de español a inglés, pues no los pierda por allá, pero creo que va a estar muy padre. Que vuela el tiempo impresionante, fue hace un año cuando estuvimos hablando también con él, y la verdad es que fue una noche muy padre. Todos los comentarios que vi al día siguiente sobre el en vivo, todo el mundo decía, güey, cabrón, es un tipazo, no sé qué. Entonces, bueno, señores, los invito, y bueno, vamos a darle la bienvenida. Hello, Joseph. How are you?
Hey, Eduardo.
How's everything going?
Viewers at home, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Let me just turn up my volume. Please let us know if Joseph is sounding correct, or does it need to speak a little bit louder, or maybe it's just my earphones.
Hang on, yeah. Let me make sure my volume's all maxed out. Can you guys hear me? Okay, is it all right?
I do hear you. Yeah. Okay. Anna is saying that everything's perfect. So,
more.
How are you, Joseph? How's everything going?
Good. It's been busy up here. Just this year's been nonstop. You know, since we soft launched Buter in May. It was supposed to come out in April. Then there's like little tariffs happened. We had to push it back a little bit because our boxes got stuck in China. We managed to get them, and then so we soft launched, and then literally last week, or on what was it, Friday? Thursday, we did the New York launch of Buter finally at one of our partner shops here in New York called Maison 10, our little perfumery in Midtown. It's great. And yeah, it went as good as it could have gone, I guess, you know. And we got some new perfumes in the works. Just shift gears for a sec. We were like developing a bunch of new ones right now.
Okay.
I can't talk about them, but let's just say we're sticking around we'll have some plenty of new releases for through the next 5 years, put it this way. Knock on wood, I shouldn't leak the energy from the development, but let's just say, we're busy. And we have the Lunar Floral reissue of Venetian Belladonna coming for this autumn in the new packaging, as we've been doing with Poppy Soma, Wolfsbane, Bloodflower, and Hemlock prior. They're getting the new updated bottle treatment. This is, of course, different collection, but same shape and more or less idea. So and then we're going to Perfumology in Philly on July 10th to kind of talk about Buter there, and then we're going to Fumery in Portland in August. TBD, date TBD. We're still figuring that out. Yeah, that's what's happening in our universe. We need a vacation. That's what we need, Eduardo. Vacation to Mexico.
Absolutely, absolutely. You should come. In fact, I invite you to come on November so you can join us at Mexcent. It will be the 4th.
I think I will come. Yeah, it's time. So
it would be amazing. So just circling back to what you said, of course, we're not going to reveal anything, but I just wanted to understand. You are mentioning new perfumes. You are mentioning like new compositions, or are you talking about the reissue of your existing collection?
New.
Perfect.
Yeah,
new. I imagine those. I mean, first of all, are you going to finish reissuing all your previous one before you launch new ones, or maybe you can mix and match?
Well, probably ideally I'd like to mix and match, but I don't ever give myself, a sort of a time limit on the development of the new ones. Like when they're done, they're done. We never release until we really feel we can't improve it anymore. That's one of our cardinal rules. And so, and I don't like to put pressure that like we have to kind of rush it to get it finished. Like it's done when it fires, you know what I mean? When it's like
Yeah.
when it's greater than the sum of its parts, and so it's hard to say, but usually we can do a perfume as fast as 6 months, and that's like really rushing it. I don't like to do that. And these last ones for the healing series, the Potion d'Antalouchier, of which Bitter, Forest of the Golden Dream, and Soleil Invisible are part of, they took 7 years each. So they're a long journey in slow perfumery, which is what we kind of try to do. We don't really try to do it. That's what we've been doing since day one. So we just kind of, that's our MO, our modus operandi. So
Perfect. And
yeah.
that's great. In fact, I think I have here some of what you were talking, so people can see it. Here you have, for example, the remedy
Here's the
collection.
new one. Yeah,
That's how I
Buchair.
put it in here.
Ta-da! Oh, look at that. Hey, twins.
It looks amazing. This presentation. The only problem, it's like you see, they are fingerprint magnets.
Yeah, you definitely need a buffing cloth nearby, But
Yeah.
I mean, practically speaking, when someone owns it, they're not gonna have all the, they'll be like handling it with you. Oh, that looks great on the camera. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and then getting back to those reissues, yes, we have those ongoing, and they'll probably be done. We'll probably get the reissuing done before the first new release, because I think we'll get it done in like 2 years, and it's
Okay.
probably gonna take at least some length of time, like in 2027 or 8, if we all get to that point, we'll have
Luckily,
plenty of new perfumes. So let's just
yeah.
but yeah, but then the next reissue is Belladonna, and then in the spring we'll have Digitalis, and then maybe Autumn Mandrake, and so they're happening like every 6 months for
Okay.
those of you that are paying attention, who like my poison flowers. Yeah,
Of course.
and we're kind of updating them too as we go, like without changing the formula. We're making them either vegan or clean at Sephora in some cases. So
Okay.
because Poppy Soma is now clean, and we didn't have to really change much. Wolfsbane is clean technically. Blood Flower is vegan, so we managed to just kind of tweak them a little tiny bit in ways you wouldn't notice. And obviously, they passed my smell test in terms of they smell like how I want them. So yeah, it's cool. So the Belladonna that's coming out is technically now clean at Sephora,
Okay.
which is great. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I didn't ask for it necessarily, but the chemist can pull it off, and it smells fantastic. I think it's a bit of an improvement because somehow juicier, but yeah. Anyway, you'll see. But
No, no, perfect. So, tell us about everything about the new perfume. First of all,
Buchair.
let me show me how do you pronounce the name
Okay,
correct?
yeah, there's a lot of confusion because this is a made-up word. So it's just buter, basically short for beautiful air. It's a contraction of beautiful and air. I would have called it beautiful air, but I think that that's a little bit too spelling it out, a little heavy-handed. So buter is a ring, and it's kind of nicknamey and sort of rolls off the tongue. It sort of sounds vaguely French, even though that's totally unintentional. And I can tell you in French, it means something like boot, related to boots, and there's certainly nothing to do with boots. So it just simply means beautiful air,
Beautiful there. Because I was thinking, I don't know, maybe it's a French word. I was like,
Yeah, it's made up, like totally made up, because that's where I can tell you something. I'm no wordsmith, and naming perfumes is such a motherfucker. It's such a pain in the ass. It takes so long. It's like writing poetry. Because here's the thing, okay? At first, when I launched Sixth Sense way back, we didn't care at all about the name because we're like, it's all about the juice, and all about the emotion, right? And then with Quartana, when I launched in 2016, I came to realize that the juice and the formula is the emotion. The name is the spell.
Okay.
It sets the emotion in motion, gabish. And so it's really part of the experience. And as we design complete experiences, hence my name, Sixth Sense, our old name, our corporate name, and the other house I did. You know, we always design as well, the visual art, the music. We work with musicians. So it's a full-fledged experience. So the wording is important, and it takes me a long time. And then, you know, remember, you have to make sure that it's not been taken. You have to just search databases of perfumes, and then you got to do a trademark search. It's a royal pain in the ass. It takes years, but when I get the name, I know it, and I'm like, that's it. And so I got Buter only a few months before the release. It was really torturing me. To be honest, the working name was Bed All Day, because it was the brief was really all about the healing power of spending a full day in bed, or really when you want to you know, when you're so overworked and burned out, you just don't want to get out of bed. That feeling, and that feeling in the morning when you're like, I'm going to call in sick to work, but you're fine. And that lovely feeling at like 9:30 a.m. when the sun is coming up on the blue sky and that fresh breeze, and all of the day is in front of you with promise. Anything. You can do anything.
Wow.
That's Buter.
Okay, Buter.
Yeah, I like
Love
that.
it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, so
And I'm going to smell along.
this is something very interesting. Normally, and with other creative directors, and they normally do it the other way around. They normally have the name and they construct it around that. But here, for example, you have the perfume, but eventually it was, like you said, all day in bed. But
it just
but
didn't
I
work.
mean, the essence was the same, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, like ultimately, what this, if I may take a step back, and you know, with the potions of Entelechy, the collection of which this belongs to, the 3 perfumes that I've put out thus far in these white boxes and bottles, this is essentially a healing perfume collection. We're really taking a deep dive in the exploration of the healing aspect. There's multiple benefits, actually. The healing aspects, first and foremost, of combinations of essential oils, but more importantly, and I don't want to say spiritual, but it's kind of the internal alchemical effects that combinations, sacred combinations of certain essential oils can do for your imagination and your feeling good. They kind of do an alignment inside that allow for an internal equilibrium of sorts that allow for you to catch the internal inspiration, if you will. If you can imagine that floodlight coming down, that star, the light coming down inside of your body, you know, this is the feeling that Entelechy is supposed to inspire. And it came out of my own healing experience, because I was in bed after a surgery for a year back in 2018, you know, like clinging to my life, I may add. So it changed everything. So, you know, I designed these perfumes, and Buter in particular, and Forest of the Golden Dream and Soleil Invisible, uh, with the desire to heal myself holistically along with like my Western medical care. It was really designed to increase my dismal odds, because like when I came out of my surgery, the doc was like, yo, you have a 29% chance of living 5 years. 29% chance. And it's like,
29.
try to 29, yeah. So it's like, oh, should I just go make a will right now? It doesn't sound very good. You know, like I'm like, man, that's, and so I'm actually on year 8. So here we are. But the point is that I designed these with the desperation of a man trying to extend his life via whatever healing power you can wring out of perfumes. But basically, when we were doing the research for Hierophante, which you know, the perfume I released after my Poison Flower collection and before, thank you, you have it on hand, and before this current collection, this was a standalone. And it's essentially, and I don't want to get off on a tangent here, it's essentially based on the Hierophant tarot card. And the Hierophant in ancient Greece was kind of a priest of sorts that initiated newcomers into the cult of Socrates, essentially, which was an intellectual cult at the time. Everyone that was anyone belonged to this cult. And essentially, what they shared with each other and guarded with the penalty of murder were the mysteries of the universe, whatever this means. And scholars kind of speculate that it's just basically ways of healing yourself through meditation and basically unlocking all the power that comes with meditation if you could get a full-fledged experience and an optimal meditation experience. So that's what the Hierophant Tarot and that experience of learning the mysteries of the universe. In our case, we rendered it via by rendering a rocket ship going to the stars inside of yourself and returning to Earth. We literally rendered the rocket exhaust and the gasoline smell and so on, as you know, but in case of the viewers. I know. Getting back to my wife is intervening. She's like, "You're rambling."
No.
Okay, thanks. I think for the viewers at home, there's a payoff. And so what we essentially learned from studying Hierophant was that certain combinations of sacred essential oils can basically result in communing with the gods. And I want to make sure we got the.
I'm here. I'm only having
Okay.
a problem with my camera, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So everyone
you can
heard
go
that.
ahead, please. You can go ahead.
So let me just repeat that as we get interrupted. So basically, the gist of the essence of the potions of Entelechy is riffing on creating combinations of sacred essential oils with the point of quote communing with the gods in the sense of what the ancient priests and priestesses of Egypt, Rome, and Greece were trying to experience, basically. So yeah, that's the gist of it. So they're basically, it's supercharged aromatherapy. And each of the collection kind of represents a different aspect of healing, but for quite loosely, it was what I was desiring in terms of my healing when I was in that bed for a year. So butaire is the desire for fresh air, in essence, and also fresh, linens and fresh sheets around you. I mean, in essence, it is the idea of staying in bed all day, but it's healing in bed, and there's the strong component of the sun and fresh air in this composition. With Forest of the Golden Dream, it was basically the desire to be out in nature and walking through a forest. With Soleil Invisible, it was the desire, and again, from the vantage point of my hospital bed, the desire for sunshine and fresh, particularly vacation sun, being in a magic place. So this was the exploration of each of these perfumes. And as I mentioned, we worked on these for 7 years, me and Christina Christie, of IFF, International Flavors of Fragrances, and then Celine Barrel, she did actually Forest of the Golden Dream. So is your camera okay now? I see you.
No. The thing is, I'm using the camera of my computer, so now it looks like I'm from 1985 or.
Cool. Yeah, I noticed actually looks sharp.
While my phone.
It's all good.
Yeah, but no. But I don't want you to get interrupted. I something that I love of these talks is hear you talking because you're so passionate about it, and I love I think your brand has a very interesting lore behind it. Some brands normally have just a bullshit story behind it. That's it.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm anathema to hype. I think that hype is earned and not kind of bought, and I think that if you're gonna put a fragrance out, it's gotta be a scroll stopper. It's gotta really hit someone over the head, so to speak, because otherwise what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, really. Yeah. I mean, does the world need another Rose Oud with someone's name on it? It's
absolutely.
Please, so we always try to create the next Angel by Thierry Mugler, because I always create these radical gourmands. They're all gourmand and gourmand adjacent. Have you ever noticed about my entire catalog? Um, I just like them and I like the effect they have. And,
Yeah.
Angel got me into perfume when I smelled it for the first time in '93, whenever it was, way, way, way back when I was like 18. Yeah, and yeah.
Don't worry, don't worry.
Butair starts out basically as this like fresh laundry scent. Our challenge was to try to make a fresh laundry scent smell really elegant, the haute couture version of
Okay.
it. And not cliched ways, of course. Yeah, with all my compositions, I try to take a kind of a really humdrum accord or ingredient and elevate it. So with Forest of the Golden Dream, it was pine, because pine is floor cleaner, in a lot of places. So how do we make that so elevated and elegant, right? It's tricky. With Soleil Invisible, well, we use tangerine, which is a tricky one. That's not exactly the stuff of haute perfumery. And with Hierophante, it was gasoline accord, and so on and so forth, and with a lot of the poisonous ones, blood flower, we used blood, which is not quite an unusual accord for perfumes. And incidentally, that's our best seller. So,
But it's amazing, and you know something, it all depends how you present it, because if
Yeah.
if for example, if in the store I go and say, oh, you want to smell something with blood, blah blah blah, they're going to smell it with this kind of prejudge.
Exactly. They're going to be like, "Ooh."
Yeah. But if you only say, like, smell this is a very nice flower perfume, oh, they love it, and then you explain it, it's like, wow, absolutely, yes. So you
Yeah.
give it a chance to actually, smell
fill
it.
in the imagination with their own
Yeah.
script, basically. That's what these perfumes are very much about. My perfumes inspire imagination, largely also because you can get lost in them. You can really dwell on them. They always have a mythology that you can kind of sink your teeth into and ruminate on. So it's not just a smelling nice, but it's a whole experience, and sort of something to dwell in. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, let me tell you something that it's very funny, because yesterday, once we closed the boutique, a friend of mine who is a distributor of a wine distributor, we are working on doing how can I say, like an experience mixing wines and perfumes, and so. It was very funny, because one of the wines that he brought, it was a white wine from I think Vienna, something like that.
Like a Riesling
And
or something.
I don't remember correctly the grape. I think it was a Riesling, something like that.
Riesling. Yeah,
Riesling.
I used to like them. Yeah, I like the dry ones. Yeah.
And he was telling me one of the primary notes there, it's a very plasticky gasoline kind of note, and I was like, what? So.
Yeah.
I showed him this, and he was, he went bananas. He was like, "We want to pair that," and it was amazing, because, it was like, it actually, I actually understood what he was saying on the wine after smelling this, because I was like, okay, I understand it in a perfume, but in a wine, what are you referring to? So once we did the pairing, it was like great. And it's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to do this, I don't know, maybe in 2 weeks, something like that. And I think it's going to be, I want to recreate that experience, because most people, when they hear a wine has a petroleum, plastic, hydrocarburo, I don't know, note there, they're going to say, that's bullshit. I mean, wait.
Yeah,
hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. It can be elegant, as this bears witness to, because Luca Maffei's work, Faniero Fonte, won us Art and Olfaction, the Indie Prize, so that's a blindfold prize where we beat out 350 perfumes to place #1. And that was my second blindfold prize in a row, because prior to that, I won Perfume Extraordinaire at the Fragrance Foundation Awards for my Poppy Soma. So I got 2 blindfold prizes in a row, to my shock and horror. Trust me, I was like, this can't be right.
Yeah, because for the people that are seeing, you talk about this last year, but you're mentioning that this is a contest where the judges, they don't know the name or anything about what they're smelling, right? So they
Yes, and they're also perfumers, I may add. They're all
okay,
perfumers, so they smell blindfold. But what they're smelling is actually the best entries from each of the big development houses. So basically, Cody, Simrise, Givaudan, IFF, Takasago, L'Oreal, so on and so forth. They all smell every perfume they created for the year. They blindfold smell them and they choose one. They submit that, and then that gets whittled down to 5. And so we made it into that, and then there was one winner, and it was us somehow. It's crazy. Yeah, it was, I was like, this is nuts. And
yeah,
so anyway, it was cool that we won then a second time, because then it redeemed me, because I was like, in case that was luck, we got a second time. So like, all right, maybe I'm pretty good at this, or at least I
yeah,
managed to
yeah.
get it out of the perfumers or something
So
like.
the other one that you said was Poppy Soma, right? I think I have it
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, here it is.
And then this is just basically riffing on the opium experience. It's basically it's a smoky floriental, and it's very much inspired by the opium dens that existed in Chinatown in New York at the turn of the
Wow.
century.
Yeah.
That were right outside where our studio is. Our studio is in the Lower East Side. We live on the border of Chinatown, and so
Okay.
yeah. And so this came out of, basically, there's a show on Cinemax called The Nick from a few years ago. It was
Okay.
directed by Steven Soderbergh. It's fabulous. It was basically about a hospital on the Lower East Side. It was like right outside of where my studio is in 1900 New York. And in this show, the lead surgeon, who is played by Clive Owen, who's brilliant, basically in the daytime would take cocaine and do surgeries because they didn't know it wasn't like illegal back then.
No,
He's
no,
like
no, no,
doing
no.
he's
It
doing
was, yeah.
he's doing coke at the daytime, and then to come down, he would go to the Chinatown opium brothels and shoot friggin' opium all night. And so this is the drama of the show. And so
Wow.
the show is fabulous. And I was like watching these scenes of him in the opium brothels, and basically Poppy Soma is exactly that experience. We were trying to pull out of this 1900 uh, Chinese opium brothel in New York.
Yeah,
Um,
it's lovely. I think
Thank you.
Poppy Soma, it's a very, very, very nice oriental floral perfume.
And men
Um,
can wear it. That it seems like it
yeah.
would be only for women being a Floriental,
No.
but that's quite, yeah, it's so elegant. It's a
Yeah.
black tie perfume. It dresses up real nice. And Buter, for that matter, too, in case men think that they can't wear it, it's kind of a nice black, like black tie, clean white shirt scent when you dress it up. And on men, it really, oh, we should go through the notes. I'm just realizing, and we kind of skipped
Yeah, no,
over
no,
it.
no,
But
no. Don't worry, don't worry.
my
Okay.
bad with Buter.
I have to be honest. Normally we have the box so we could open it and that, but you didn't bring it, so I cannot open it because this is part of
I have this. I have this.
yeah, perfect.
And we got a box proto here. So if anyone wants to see, just kind of what it looks like, and but yeah, the firstly, my good friend in Milan, Carlo Zambotti, did this collage artwork. It's actually a collage. It's just a digital scan, but it's a real magazine collage. Okay, so Buter from the top. We always try to use alternative citruses to bergamot, and so in this case we use grapefruit and lemon, and it gives you a sense of place to open up this composition of where we are, and it definitely signifies that morning sun, really like 8 a.m. morning sun, which just brims with possibility. um, to cool it off, there's Spanish thyme oil. We use a really nice one from LMR in grass, which is like a real high purity. I gotta take my glass off for a minute. And then there's ethereal ozone, which is just that sense of airiness that Christina created, the top part of the atmosphere in this composition. The heart and what pulls you that down into the earth is basically a combination of essentially linden blossom and rose, but a lot of rose. But the rose, you don't smell the rose. It really
No.
supports the linden blossom. It's really magically camouflaged. And we use not only Turkish rose, we use Turkish rose absolute too. So it's a real full-fledged experience of it. It's propped with some Sichuan pepper to give it some warmth, some powdery orris root, and some clove, to support that Spanish thyme, give it some atmosphere. But that's barely there, and it just gives a little bit of just texture, and the bottom, basically, just to nail it to the earth, is here's another interesting accord that we tried to. We always try to do interesting accords with the composition. So we have soil accord on the bottom, playing off of the Indonesian patchouli. There's some cypriol oil also to give a cooling sense, and gaiac wood also for cooling. And finally, the vanillic sandalwood. There's not really vanilla, but it's a really nice vanillic sandalwood on the bottom. Some saffron also for spice. So on men, what I wanted to say is that on really masculine men, I noticed this. So let me take a step back. On me, it really smells like cool atmosphere.
Okay.
And fresh bed sheets. But it's cool. And then there's a little bit of like cool, moist earth in that soil accord and the patchouli to ground it. That's how it reads on me. And there's a little bit of a creamy gourmandness with a kind of that lemon and grapefruit as well.
Okay.
Lemon grapefruit cream that kind of permeates it all, but it's really subtle, and it just kind of, it almost smells like at breakfast when you have freshly poured grapefruit juice, and it's just a little bit. It's like note in the air,
Yeah, the one from the I don't know how you say it in English, like the thing that you peel.
The rind, yeah, exactly, the rind, the skin, you can say also, right? But yeah, that the lemon and the grapefruit just give it a really nice optimistic. So these fragrances are designed to be ultra optimistic. And when I was on my quote deathbed, I was recovering from this insane surgery back in 2017, 2018. I decided I wanted to leave the world with antidotes to the poisoned flowers that I left behind. Like, I didn't want to leave just like, like I don't want to be known for. I was like the guy who just like poisoned flowers, like I'm some sicko or something. Which, by the way, the poisoned flowers are not, some kind of worshiping of death. It's really just an exploration of really powerful flowers. Because one thing I noticed about poisoned flowers is that in small doses, all of them are medicinal or psychedelic. It's only in the larger doses that they become fatal. So it really becomes a question of dosage.
Okay.
They're just powerful flowers. So it's a question of wanting to straddle those powerful flowers.
Wow.
So this is what it's about. Those anyway.
Very.
Yeah. Right.
Well, now, of course, in this one, yeah, you get the feel good, the clean sensation. Then
these are daytime spray and go. You wake up, and they'll transition to the evening because they're dressy enough in their casualness. They are elegant somehow in their rawness and casualness. And by the way, the other what I wanted to say about challenging accords in this one, I never said it, is it's basically fabric softener. We were going for this kind of set smell of like laundry, the smell of laundry, and how do we elevate that? And Christina just such a phenomenal job, because you want to huff this, I love, this is one of my favorite fragrances of all time that I've ever done. And this is actually my 41st or 42nd, something like that, for perfumes. Yeah, I've either produced or designed since 2008. And I love this one. And I don't love it on me as much as I love it on certain people, where it becomes really creamy. Oh my God. It's really beautifully lactonic on the right skin. But it really, the thing about working with all of these LMR oils that we work, the this one lab that we work with in Grass called LMR Labs, which is exclusive to IFF. They're known for their super high quality essential oils, and they're really transparent about it. So you can like go online and like look up when and where they were grown, and they're all organic, and they don't use pesticides, this kind of thing. Very transparent, high quality oils. The thing about them, and the fact that we're trying not to use fixatives and stuff, being modern, is that these perfumes really express themselves quite differently on different skin. I don't know if you've noticed this, but they're radically different. Like, holy moly, especially Soleil Invisible.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Ridiculous. The Soleil is nuts, but Beauté is fantastic on pretty much every female I've smelled. It's such a wonderful summer scent, like an easy no-brainer. And I'm not talking, I'm not like just talking up my stuff. Like, I love this one. I think Christina, the perfumer, just did a phenomenal job. Christina Christie.
No, this is
finally a summer scent that I can really recommend all my girlfriends. With like all of my love and heart and confidence as a two-time award-winning perfumer, blindfold award-winning perfumer. So
no, it's and what you said is very important. You need to try them on skin. Because, like you say, the Soleil one, for example, on me, it takes out a lot of cumin.
And this is not how I want it to express itself. It becomes a little bit like stinky skin, and so it's not nice for dudes that are musky. Do not wear my Soleil Invisible. It's really better on girls that have clean skin. Is fantastic. Anyone with really clean skin, because then the gourmandy aspect comes out, and the cumin that's there just becomes part of the sort of acidic part of the flavor profile of this gourmand, tangerine cream, smoky tangerine creamsicle. That's really what Soleil Invisible is about. It makes you want to eat the person. Beauté is more of a ice pop in the summertime in bed with vanilla, kind of wanting to eat the person up, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I have to say, this one it also develops this kind of plasticky. Bear with me. It resembles something to the how can I say? I always say it smells like the doll of I don't know, 80s Cabbage Patch. It's interesting. It's like
I can see what you mean exactly. I can see that.
And something?
I think that's the sandalwood vanilla colliding with. Hang on.
I don't know what it is, but I love it. And I have to say, for example, the first one from your collection that I tried, obviously not in this presentation, but in the other one, Hemlock, it also has it.
For this one, we deliberately, this is
because it smells Hemlock, like lubricant, like.
Well, in fact, Hemlock, we were imagining the clothing worn by a dominatrix, like that really shiny black vinyl, bustier, boots, gloves, whip, mask. No, we were literally rendering Poison Hemlock as a black vinyl wearing dominatrix. Wow. This is having a bondage session on a bed of vanilla. That is Hemlock. That was the brief.
I love it. I love it.
Our second bestseller of all time.
Wow. In fact, let me see. Maybe a layer between these two would be something interesting to try later.
To be honest with you, that spice, the cinnamon and stuff, it could be. To be honest, I think that's kind of interesting. Normally, I would say all of my perfumes can stand alone because we really design them to be very specific, precisely what we want to say. But, there's combinations that maybe could result in some surprises. I would be, I'm open to it. Actually, with Beauté, there's enough sort of breathing room literally in the composition. It's literally supposed to be fresh air, a rendering of fresh air, but you can't just render fresh air. It has to smell like something, right?
Absolutely.
We had this problem with Soleil Invisible, the solar perfume that's part of this collection, where we added a lot of vetiver as sort of a black contrast for which the solar aspect or the sunshine can sort of pop off of. Because without contrast, how do you render sunshine? You know, is it just
Yes.
lemon? I mean, that would be the most cliched thing. So we used like the dark. We really imagined. So Soleil Invisible is an homage to Aurora, the goddess of the dawn. And we imagined the sun starting to peak up. I mean, you know, Soleil Invisible is just a sunrise. It's a render of a sunrise. It hangs in the noon sky and then it recedes down. That's it.
Okay.
We rendered the sun via tangerine and passion fruit and lychee, and it sits on a bed of vanilla. And then the smoke around it is the black sky, you know, which the sun breaks.
Okay.
Starts
Okay.
the new day, you know.
Okay.
And so that's the healing aspect and the entelechy aspect. Yeah, I mean, actually, come to think of it, Butere is also the rendering of like a full day. In this case, it is, yeah. So Soleil Invisible is a full day of vacation sun. Butere is a full day of bed rest and fresh air. You know, we imagined the bed like basically in a field. So basically, this fragrance, Butere, was literally inspired by um, began with, of course, me you know, get after my surgery that saved my life and being stuck in the NYU hospital bed in Manhattan, looking out my window at the river for like a month and wishing I was somewhere else, and also being like, how the hell did this happen? How am I here right now? Anyway, flash forward 2 years later, when the fragrance was in development, we went to the big island of Hawaii, and the green Waimea, the green part of the island that goes down to the sea, it's called Waimea. It's really
Okay.
beautiful. And it's where all the cows graze. It's really lovely. We rented a cabin there that went down to the sea. And I wasn't focusing on the smell of the sea. It was really more the fresh air and the blue sky, the green meadow. And right outside of our cabin window, outside of our bedroom window, we had this massive bed with these nice sheets. And wouldn't you know it, outside of our bedroom window was a linden tree. And it was in blossom. And oh my God. So that was the first time I put the two and two together of like bed sheet smell and linden blossom, because they work real nice. Like linden blossom is cotton. It's the
Okay.
smell of clean sheets.
Yeah.
So, and honeyed clean sheets. And so I was like, oh, hey, oh, that's it, you know? And that smell of fresh air, the breeze coming in because of Hawaii, you know? But that's it. That was where really Butere was kind of literally born out of, you know,
Wow.
in terms of the combinations of things. Yeah, you know, and then we added the rose and the patchouli to kind of ground it, you know, because again, it adds some sort of texture contrast. Yeah.
That's you know, I've honestly I've never smelled a linden flower in nature. I have some perfumes with it, but I would love it to smell it as I to picture what you smell. I think
It's also called lime blossom, but it's not from lime. You know, that's the funny thing. It's a little bit misleading. But out of all the flowers that smell like a pillow, linden is like I mean, in my opinion, from all that I smelled, and yeah, we were like asking around too, like what would really encapsulate it, and we were like, oh, linden. That's so funny that was literally outside of my window. You know, it's like it's designed
Absolutely.
itself. You know, sometimes the fragrances design themselves. You're like, oh, that's such a fabulous combination. I never would have thought to do that if it wasn't presented in front of me in the weirdest circumstance, where I'm like, aha, perfume, boom, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Joseph, what do you think if we? I think we have some questions from
yeah,
the
bring it.
people.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm seeing one, but of course, if you are seeing this live stream and you want to ask something to Joseph, would be a good time to do it.
I would love to. No such thing as a stupid question. There's no stupid questions. That's what I'm trying to say. So,
Absolutely. Well, this one is Spanish, but I can translate it.
Please,
It
sorry
says,
for my
Eduardo, ask him what has been from or what has happened to the brand since our last live. So it would be like, yeah, what would you pick up from last year to now? What would you say?
Yeah, that was basically when we launched Soleil Invisible, the last perfume in the Entelechy series. Well, we've grown online substantially. We've gotten a few more stores around the world organically. So we opened up a shop in Stockholm, in Copenhagen, in Berlin. Trying to think. Hang on a second. We got more stores. We just opened up a shop in New Hampshire. Random. We got a shop in California. So we just organically, because we don't really reach out to stores. Like we you know, if we're going to work with a retail partner, it's long term, and you know, as we have, Eduardo, you and I have a fantastic relationship. It's really, I know you respect brands, and yeah, and you're long term. You believe in what we do, and platform us, and we're so grateful. All of your perfume brands, I know I am.
No, thank you. And yeah, for example, here Jose Antonio is asking, where can they find your perfumes in Europe?
Okay, yeah, we're at 7 Cents in Budapest. We're at Breathe in Berlin. We're at Florally in Stockholm. We're at Hendrik Vibskov in Copenhagen and New York, where I am. And let me think who else that we're really just beginning to work in Europe. It's we're soon gonna have a store in Italy. I can't talk about it, but we're working on that. Nothing in England, which is sad, but whatever.
Nothing in Spain?
No, that's a strange thing because I know we would crush it there. I don't know why I'm holding my hand like that. um, you know, the biggest handicap to selling in Spain and Portugal is that like when we send fragrances over, they get taxed at like this crazy rate, like 50%, 40%. Yeah, and so we have to kind of have them in Europe already, but I think even still they'll get tariffed at that rate. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So, you know, I don't know how we would make it work, but someday, you know, we'll figure it out. But we're finally starting to get into Europe more because we pulled out, you know, during COVID. We used to sell all over in Europe all the last decade. We had like 250 stores. Not for Quartana, that was just 6 Cents, my other brand. For Quartana, I've been keeping it tight purposely, and I intend to keep it tight.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it. But to answer his question is that we've been working on some new scents, as I was telling Eduardo in the beginning. I designed like 5 new perfumes in the last maybe 7 months, you know, but they weren't like, you know, I've been working on them for years, and they kind of came together, you know, finally. It's been a fruitful year in that way, you know, thank God.
Excellent.
Because it ebbs and flows, you know, with your energy. So
yeah. Maximiliano is saying, could you ask him which was the perfume that makes him start loving this world and decided to be a perfumer? So I'm guessing, what was the perfume that you smell and said, this is what I want to do? You know,
well, that would be Angel from Thierry Mugler.
Amazing.
When it first came out in 92 or whatever, that was the first gourmand ever. And
Yeah.
it smelled like cotton candy and vanilla, like burned vanilla, like creme brulee, right? Yeah. I just stopped. I remember I was at a nightclub. I was hosting a nightclub at that time. Like I worked at this nightclub called The Tunnel. And some drag queen walked past me wearing that. And I was just frozen. I was just like, like, excuse me? What's that? What the is that? You know? It just made my head spin and pressed all my buttons at the same time. And it wasn't so much that I was like, I want to become a perfumer, but I was just like, I deeply respect this field as a way to mind fuck. Yeah. And the same power as music, because I come from a music family. Everyone in my family is a musician. Going back, my bloodline, all my cousins and uncles, my father, you know, we're all musicians. And so perfume is really just that, you know, it's really just music for the notes. Yeah. We're talking notes, chords, mix downs, relies on visual art, da da da.
Of course. Is Hernandez saying, which is the most difficult perfume to do it? I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Oh,
Is
maybe it's which was the hardest fragrance I've ever created. Could it be?
could be?
There are a
Yeah.
few. Well, interestingly, Lily of the Valley, which is like the sort of like conceptual cornerstone of the Potion Fatale, the Poison Flowers series,
Okay.
gave us the most hell. And like all the others, we kind of designed within like anywhere from 6 months to about 2 years. But Lily of the Valley took like 2.5. We just weren't happy with it. It just was not working, like we just weren't
Okay.
like, this really, we know they start to work. I mean, instinctually, but you get your validation when you're walking down the street and someone like stops you, nothing like that. And then you're kind of hitting on something when people are like, what's that? Oh, what are you wearing? Oh my God, like when you get
Wow.
that reaction, you're
Yeah.
circling the finished product.
And what was the tricky part about Lily of the Valley? The notes you didn't quite capture what you were looking for, or what would you say
Well,
was?
with La Potion Fatale in general, we weren't quite sure what they should smell like. It was really like feeling around in the dark. All we know is that we had these like sort of these very rich histories of how the poison flowers were used for ritual and for famous poisonings. That was the basis, to go on. And so it's like, where do we go from there? I'm not sure, So we smelled all the poison flowers. And we decided right then and there they were all disgusting. Like the actual poison flowers are not nice. So they became a lot more imaginary perfumes, really
Okay.
based on the folklore and stuff. We incorporated some, and Mandrake, for example, is actually straight up inspired by the actual smell of Mandrake because it smells like apples. And
Okay.
and Mandrake, the perfume we created, is kind of apple, pomegranate, rhubarb, and suede, all kind of harmonizing with this vanillic sandalwood. It's a nice gourmand, actually. Unfortunately, totally sold out until we reissue it because we just ran out of like the last bottle that we can make them. But we're selling travel sizes in the meanwhile.
Okay.
If everyone's interested. But getting back to the story, basically, Lily of the Valley, it was like so difficult because like I think we were putting so much pressure on ourselves because it's like the most important, because it was like, it birthed the whole collection of poison flowers. After I saw this episode of Breaking Bad where Walt used the Lily of the Valley to poison someone, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I had no idea Lily of the Valley was poisonous. And that just completely shifted my feeling about the potential of like white florals to be super fabulous, and like have fangs and teeth and just be like interesting and different, It's like,
Yeah.
how has no one done a perfume based on the poisonous aspect of Lily of the Valley? How? How has no
Yeah.
one done that yet? And so, and yeah, so I guess it didn't really feel poisonous. But in the end, what we kind of realized is that the way we kind of made them all smell poisonous is by using liquor accords. So each of them kind of smells like booze or alcohol, but a
Yeah.
sweet smelling alcohol. And that's really the gist of it. Is that's supposed to be like a poison flower would imply. They smell sweet and alluring, and they certainly are intoxicating, but they'll also mess you up and kill you,
Okay.
And that's sort of the implicit threat, because a rose has a thorn, right?
Yeah.
And so in some sense, yeah, I mean, I was really trying to empower my female friends, basically, to give them a little bit of like a don't mess with me kind of vibe. In New York City, you need that, right? So it's kind of like a guarantee: if you mess with me, you're gonna get scratched,
Okay. Okay. Anna is asking, what's your favorite poison plant? I mean, from your collection, what would be your favorite?
Oh, wow. Well, I guess the first thing I should say is that I do have some poison flowers in development, some new ones. That's
Okay.
I will just announce that, So my mind is on these new ones, and I'm really excited about them. But of the existing ones, I mean, Wolfsbane blew me away when we created it. I was really impressed with Philippe Paparella Paris' job.
Yeah, this is
That
amazing.
just really unique. And we are always trying to create new smell sensations that you can't quite put your finger on. And our idea of a well blended fragrance is that you can't smell any of the ingredients. They all kind of support a new flavor arc, right? From start to finish. And Wolfsbane fabulously pulls this off. It's really like quite unique and unlike anything. Some people say Tom Ford's Black Orchid is the poor man's Wolfsbane. And I'm like, I like that, you know? Yeah, I read that review and I was like, oh yeah, you know.
Wow. And talking about that, which one was first, this one or Black Orchid?
They were, I think actually they were around the same time. We were developing it from 2014, and I promise you, we didn't smell Black Orchid. Like we're not trying to smell anything. We were down our own rabbit hole with all of them. And be honest with you, I really demand from our perfumers, and we work with the evaluators to make sure that it just smells unique. Like I really go to the ends of the earth, Eduardo. I get stressed making sure my perfumes don't smell like anyone else's.
Absolutely.
Where you can be like, oh, this smells like Tom Ford so and so. I hate that, you know. And so we really make sure that they're in their unique sort of place, you know. And you could say, okay, maybe it's part of a similar family, or there might be a overlap, a chord. You get that, you know. But in terms of the reason for being and the obviously execution, choice of accords, we really think it through inside and out. And I make sure that everything is in agreement conceptually.
Boom. Creo que perdimos a Joseph. Ahorita vamos a ver si se conecta. Ya vimos que las conexiones están un poquito inestables, desgraciadamente. Pero bueno, mientras...
Sorry about that. Okay.
No, don't worry.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, Christ. Forgive me 1 second.
Don't worry.
Okay, there we go.
Now I can
hear. All right, my father was like calling me. I was like, don't call him. I love him, but yeah. I'm like, don't call me while I'm on this like broadcast. And he's ringing me. And he's going to ask me, like, how do you like log into like the computer? And be something like that, you know?
Yeah. Well, you'll talk back to him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Anna is saying, yeah, Hemlock is her favorite.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I like Bloodflower also. I think of those compositions, it's really, I think in terms of its like staying power as like really a viscerally interesting, consistently viscerally interesting scent. That one is really still like everyone that smells it is like, you know, and nothing comes close. And I smelled a few other blood scents, and come on, no one can touch Bloodflower. Like this is like the haute goth like scent of scents, you know?
Yeah.
And I designed it to be that. I was like, this is gonna be the King Vampire scent, period. End of story. So I challenge anyone to make a better blood scent right now. Dropping the mic.
And you know, I love everyone. I love the video that you made. It's very interesting and very alluring. The short film of
we literally shot that in like 2 hours in a friend's apartment, just kind of riffing and just dumping blood on my friend in the shower. We ruined her makeup. We had to get it on the first take, you know, like we got it on the first take, thank God.
Yeah.
You know.
It's very
we're gonna make a new one. We're gonna make a new Bloodflower video.
Okay.
It's coming. Yeah, I've been working on it. I actually finally found the person that I
maybe somebody's calling him. Venga, perfecto.
My apologies, my father.
Don't worry.
Could you do me a favor? Call Dad and just tell him I'm on a broadcast, like right now. He keeps calling me. Right.
So here, DC is asking.
Okay, there we go. All right, now I can hear. My wife's like telling him, pipe down.
Yeah, don't worry. What fragrance are you wearing right now, or do you have a rotation for everyday use?
I actually, I mean, right now I'm wearing Buterre just every day because I'm really test driving it in the summer. I've been test driving it for years, but now that it's out there in the world, I imagine what my clientele is smelling as
Okay.
like the world is transpiring and cultural things are happening and all of this, kind of shapes your perception of fragrances. The thing about this fragrance, this healing collection, the Potion d'Atelier, is that I thought when Trump the first time was like out of power, we wouldn't need these fragrances anymore because the world would like heal up or something. But here he is again, torturing us. So, you know,
Yeah.
it makes my perfumes that much more needed in the world to act as like the medicine that they are. If like
Absolutely.
you're disturbed by day-to-day violence, or I mean, the war in the Middle East is also like soul sucking. This is a counter to all of the soul sucking things in the day to day. It's soul medicine and it's designed to keep your light on. One thing that I want to talk about really fast, because it's really important to understand this fragrance series. When I was researching this series about how to really heal through smells, I read a book about a medical student studied 10 people who spontaneously healed from stage 4 cancer, and just to see if there's any commonality, like if there's anything there. And this isn't some hocus pocus or like vibe feel, this is a really medical student doing a thesis, as her
Okay.
PhD. One of the common things was that each of them never lost hope in spite of having only 1% survival odds. They never lost hope, because guess what? When you don't lose hope, you get that 1%. You live. All the other realities collapse in, but you live.
Yeah.
As long as you keep the hope. That's the important thing. So what keeps the hope alive? And these perfumes are my love letter to keeping the hope alive in various ways, of keeping that fire on inside of you. In the darkest moments, you can just close your eyes. I mean, Christina Christie and I designed Soleil Invisible with the idea of closing our eyes and imagining the sun shining down on your face and just getting lost in that sunshine, the sunshine that exists in your happiest childhood memories. Just try to think about your happiest childhood memory for a moment and that sun. And these perfumes bring you into that sunshine.
Okay.
That's what they invoke. And this is the
That's
alchemical purpose of these. They're meditations on that, Yeah.
that's
And
that's that's beautiful. And yeah,
thanks.
absolutely. Absolutely,
But to
yes.
answer her question, I rotate, as everyone should. It's a wardrobe. Everyone should have a fragrance wardrobe, and like shoes. I think fragrances are like shoes. Everyone should have about 8 shoes, ideally, if you can afford it. You have your dress shoes for black tie, and then you wear to funerals. You have your dancing shoes. You have your running shoes. You have your wake up in the morning shoes. You have your evening go on a date shoes, date night shoes. You have
Or the
your
rain, the boots.
yeah, right, exactly. But maybe that's your to make the sun come up inside, because on a rainy day you need a pick me up. So we have a different set. Well, and also you have to take into consideration heat and humidity. You have your winter scent, your winter evening scent, your summer evening scent, your summer morning scent. And really it's about what emotion do you want to elicit that day? What kind of mood do you want to step into? Do I want to be sexy? Do I want to go dancing? Do I want to be alluring? Do I want to be mysterious? Do I want to implicitly say that if you mess with me, I'm going to mess you up, and that's a promise. you know? What do I
Yeah.
want to convey? Do I want to convey the starlight that comes with the meditative journey of Hierophante, taking that rocket into the stars inside of yourself? Do I want to evoke that today? Um, that's the question.
Yeah.
So I think that perfumes should be worn in that regard.
Absolutely. You compare them with shoes. I always say that perfumes is like clothes. So yeah, it's like you don't dress the same way all day, and depending on how you feel and what you're going to do. So
Well, you
yeah.
know why I say they're shoes, Eduardo, is because I think that a fragrance is foundational.
Okay.
Like I dress according to my fragrance, not the other way around.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I match colors or whatever when I'm expressing and you know, but then that's my ritual. Everyone has their ritual, of course, you know.
Yeah,
And there's no
absolutely.
such thing as a wrong ritual if you feel good and it's obviously no one's harmed. So
Perfect. Well, another question. They have your top five favorite notes.
wow. Okay, so in truth, I don't have any favorite or unfavorite notes because I think it's like notes on a piano. They all have their time, place, emotional nuance. And basically, my rule with notes and accords is that I don't try to use anything that's kind of cliched in the last few years and something that's been done to death. So, for example, one of my briefs, all of my briefs say no oud, period. I will not use oud because I think it's just done to death. Although, actually, at this point, maybe it's starting to become a little bit fresh again, you know? Like,
Okay.
um, right now I'm feeling florals as something like new and fresh, and I'm feeling floral gourmands. I really love this category, and I've always been into gourmands, as you guys know, really good, getting into that. Uh, but um, but my top five, if I had to say like notes that I use on a regular basis, I love pyrogenated styrax or styrax pyrogene. It's gone in a lot of my perfumes, Hierophante, Venetian Belladonna, um, Poppy
I think
Soma.
hemlock also, right?
I think so, yeah, and I think Poppy Soma too, and uncredited sometimes because we love it as a way of, oh, and definitely Belladonna. Yeah, I did mention that. We love it as kind of feeling like there's fire nearby, you
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
presence of fire. There's nothing quite like it, you know. So all my perfumes have, you know, a passion inside of them, certainly.
Perfect. Let's see. Let's go for another one. It says, "Have you think about creating a family of a couple of fragrances based of the idea between music and scents?" Mm.
Yes, I actually have, and funnily enough, that's a really I'm just gonna fix my somehow this thing got moved over. Um Hierophante is the first in a series. If anyone's watched the film we did for Hierophante, and if you haven't, it's easily found on YouTube. You just type Cortana Hierophante, Ierofante. Basically, it's a living tarot card because we were just trying to like render the hero font, but in motion, of course. And what he does, which is about bestowing the secrets or mysteries of the universe on you, the receiver of this quote wisdom. And the reason I bring this up is that we used a very not a I mean he's kind of famous. He's more influential than famous. A musician friend of mine, and he's actually my music mentor, a gentleman named Michael Zonarozny. He's in a kind of a famous post-punk electronic band from New York that was
Okay.
founded way back in 1977 called Crash Course in Science. And
Okay.
they're kind of well known because if you know the band LCD Sound System and the song Losing My Edge,
Yeah.
James Murphy did, they kind of copied Cardboard Lamb by Crash Course in Science. And
Oh.
basically, that song relaunched my friend Michael's career. I'm bringing this up because Michael is the hero font in the film, and I asked him to compose the music and to interpret the whole kind of concept. And he
Okay.
got really into it, and we used a costume designer, and the whole film is kind of cool in this regard. So, point is that I like the idea, and I'm exploring this much further. And so, I may be hinting there's a sequel coming to the hero font, you know, fragrance, yeah,
Okay.
incorporating music,
Well.
but in the nice way. Because here's the thing: at any point, I did a fragrance already for Mute Records. You know, I did their official scent that basically interpreted the silent composition of John Cage. It's called 433. It's this 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence, recorded silence. It's
Okay.
an experimental song from the 50s. It's a song basically Mute Records with their I think it was a 20-year anniversary or 40-year anniversary, did covers of this silent composition. They asked all the bands on their label, including like Depeche Mode and Einstürzende Neubauten, to do the covers. And then they had me do a candle that interpreted the smell of 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And so it got me thinking about doing music candles for the longest time, or music scents. And I think Roja Dove and Duran Duran just did a collaboration, but it was the most unimaginative collaboration and just a cash grab. And I was so disappointed and kind of grossed out, frankly, by it. And so my interpretation, like my Hierophante or Hierophant fragrance and film really represents what I want to do with and what we are doing in terms of melding visual art with perfume, with original music, and for that matter, costume design, because we used 3S4, who's a New York couture brand, to create the costume of the Hierophant, which cost me, no joke, $10,000 for the
What?
costume. Yeah, because we used the best of the best, you know?
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
like
that sums it up.
It's like a 2-minute long video, but we put the work in, you know. And by the way, that video got screened at a fashion film festival in Paris called The Shaded View on Fashion Film, and we got nominated. We like ranked. Yeah, it's put on by Comme des Garçons. So we were like, hey, that's cool, you know. So yeah, my director was like flown over and all that, you know. Cool
That's
stuff.
nice.
Yeah, so I invite anyone to please watch this video, because I'm hoping you'll find some inspiration in it. If you know anything about the Taro and you know about the Hierophant mythology, we just rendered that. So, but we did a space age kind of slant on it, as you know. It'll make more sense when you see it.
Yeah.
Spell it. Yeah. Anyway.
So let's go with the final 2 questions, if you agree. Philocen, it's asking, do you think fragrances can only suit moments that make you feel good, or can they also fit feelings of sadness or melancholy?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
So, do you have a fragrance that captured that mood?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, for sure. But why put yourself into that frame of mind? You know, like I love romantic poetry, darkly romantic poetry. They invoke a certain mood, but they don't bring me down per se. You know, I think that basically a lot of La Potion Fatale, like all of my poison flowers, were my desire to create romantic sense, like darkly romantic sense. I saw a lot of negative space in the marketplace for deep dives into these like romantic, darkly romantic spaces, you know. And
Oh, I think we lost your audio.
oh, my audio went off.
Yeah, now we can hear
That's
you.
better. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go back and say, okay, so the fragrances, the Potion Fatale, the poison flower fragrances are darkly romantic, but they're not a celebration of death. They're more a celebration of the power of the poison flowers, which are really just powerful flowers. And so, and to basically say that we were not celebrating death with these things, we actually donated to poison control centers, you know, like we're run by charity. Some of the proceeds of the revenues for the fragrances the first 2 years we were in business, because we don't celebrate death. But you know, like if you listen to like a song from The Cure, let's say from the Disintegration album from the late 90s, you know, it doesn't make you want to slit your wrist, but it's like reading romantic poetry. It's a beautiful realization. And to put yourself in that state of mind makes the sweeter experiences that much more sweet, because everything is relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you can't be truly happy until you know some sadness, like deep down, you know? Or at least it makes it that much sweeter, you know? Yeah. That's for sure. But I would say Blood Flowers, definitely, and Midnight Datura also of mine, and Belladonna, now that I'm just thinking aloud here, you know, are all certainly super darkly romantic, you know.
Excellent.
Wolfsbane, definitely that too, you know. I'm not, you know.
Let me see here. I have it.
They're all tinted in that way, because I mean, this fragrance collection is kind of gothy, you know. It's kind of going. I was going for mood. I hate to use the word goth because that's not the right way to describe it. It certainly isn't, because they have they're not like, yeah, they're not like cobwebby or something like that, or black, you know. They're very
Yeah.
colorful, right? So that's not the word. They're phantasmagoric. That's the word. The post
Okay.
fertile is phantasmagoric. Yeah.
So this would be the last question, and they are saying, did you have any passions before you got into fragrances?
Yeah. I've had a few careers before I got into. Um,
Okay.
well, I always wanted to get into music, but the closest I could get into music and actually make a living was basically like working in nightclubs in the 90s. And I've always done like concert event production. And so yeah, for mostly electronic bands, you know, that's always
Okay.
been my personal taste. But I booked a lot of electro clash bands and a lot of like house bands, like, I mean, house music acts in the 90s. I
Yeah.
booked Mark Allman from Soft Cell in the 90s. You know, that was one of my bigger ones, you know, it was like
Okay.
for the nightclub I worked in. Yeah. The Tunnel, we had like 5,000 people every Saturday night in the club. It was the most famous club in New York City at the time.
Wow.
And everyone dancing until like noon, you know. It was like the heyday of house music. So but I also booked like Miss Kitten and the Hacker and bands like Soulwax and Vitalik, all these electronic bands throughout the years. So I've been kind of, so I always wanted to play in the music space, and I always did that for passion. But really, where I made my, really where I worked and where I became passionate was in the fashion industry, and I worked in that industry from like '99 until 2014. I actually launched my fragrance career in 2008. So I was doing fragrance and fashion at the same time as a
Okay.
fashion director for a boutique that sold designer, high-end designer, really creative stuff. We got a lot of designers started along the way. Like, for example, Raf Simons, who's now the head of Prada. I sold him first. Kim Jones, who's the head of Dior. I sold him first. Anthony Vaccarello, who's the head of Saint Laurent. I sold him first. Uh, Heider Ackerman, who's now the head of Tom Ford. I sold him first. So I was scouting for really cutting edge talent basically in my fashion career. That was my passion, is finding new ideas ahead of everyone. And so as you can see, I in some sense I do this in fragrance, you know, in that like we really try to explore concepts that are brand spanking new, that like we go down our rabbit hole. Like I don't look at other people's work only insofar as like what not to do, what I would
Okay.
never touch, you know. That's it. That's the guidelines. But otherwise we're like down our own rabbit hole, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I think the other day I saw you post a picture that you were with Carolina Herrera or something. And you were saying something about the 202 212 perfume. Did you have to do anything to do with that perfume?
Carolina Herrera's 212 perfume. Was that me? I don't know if I know
Yeah.
the CEO of that brand, but I don't know. Yeah, I never worked on that. To be honest with you, I have not done any kind of consulting work. I've been saying no to everything since
Okay.
um
So maybe I'm confusing, but
oh, it's okay. Yeah.
I could swear that last week or something like that you post something or a picture or something, or maybe I'm confused. I don't know.
Is it a collaboration that you think I did that I
I don't
posted?
know. I don't know. I think I saw it on Instagram. Anyway, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, no, no,
I'm not could be not thinking of
no.
something.
Clearly, it's not you. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes we cross circuits, you know. It's all
Yeah,
good.
could be. Um,
That's the story of my life, to be honest.
so Joseph, as always, it's a pleasure having you
Oh,
here.
this has been magical. It's so nice. I hope I didn't talk over you or anything. You
No,
know,
no, no, no.
laugh too much.
That's I think the idea. If they want to hear me talk, they can see another video here. I think this is a very nice way in which the audience can hear about you, and I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, well, you're such a nice interviewer. It's always a pleasure to get a kind of fluent chemistry going. It's so easy, you know, with you. so easy. So I could talk to you all day. You know, I mean,
Thank you.
I could go another 2 hours, honestly. You know, just getting warmed up. You know, now that I had that coffee, I'm like, woo, let's do this. You know.
Yeah.
But let me know when you're in New York, and I will really try to come in November. I think that it's
It would be,
possible.
the invitation is there.
Possible. I'm
I
excited
think
about this. Yeah.
I think you will love it, and you can, use it as excuse for you come here and then you take vacation. So yeah.
That we need. Let me tell you, my friend, man, I am like burned out. It's been just ever since the pandemic. We've not had a holiday. We worked straight through since friggin' 2019, you know? So, woo! Yeah. It's just when you're so burned out, you're like beyond it. You just don't even care anymore. It's that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
anyway.
Absolutely. He's saying now we can understand the magic of your art. So, guys,
it's half insanity.
Yeah. No, it was as always a pleasure, and I have to say something. And good thing that you said it, because Butte Air. Now that I could say it correctly.
Okay, yeah, you got it.
Change your mind about this, and I know. I mean, 95% of the people that come into my boutiques are men. I think they need to try it, and
they gotta wear it on the skin because it's gonna be woody. The thing is, on a lot of dudes, and what I was forgetting to say is that it presents as more of a woody fragrance on dudes.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
If you have sweet skin, it's gonna be more of an airy gourmand. So women or like boyish types like me, it's more of an airy gourmand. A more masculine man, it becomes wood, and it's interesting. A fragrance buyer that came to my opening was wearing it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm really getting the wood. And he's like, I always push the bottom notes in every perfume I wear. So I was like, thank God I'm getting the validation that a man can wear it and not feel it's a little bit like,
absolutely.
So
no, and as you say, I think I mean, this is true in all perfumes. You need to try them on skin, but I actually think in your collection you need to do it because they change, like we talk about with this one, for example, Forest of a Golden Dream. If you just smell it casually, it's like, oh, it's a piney scent. No, wait, that thing kicks like a mule.
Exactly. Oh, and by the way, I want a really fast announcement. We basically retooled Forest of the Golden Dream to be clean at Sephora and vegan, and the heart lasts way longer now.
Wow.
We improved the longevity without doing anything. It's just improved, and we just really, it's an overdose of this Siberian fir balsam in the heart. So wait, we worked on this. I can't believe we improved it because I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
You're going to be, and anyone who's a fan of it, just wait.
Okay.
Ooh la la. Yeah.
I love that because as it is right now, it's strong. It's very strong.
Yeah. But now it's going to be like, woo. Yeah. But in the best of ways, and you know what I'm talking about. Those that love this perfume, it makes your eyes roll back because it's like an overdose of the most divine, heavenly, golden pine you will ever smell. Period.
Wow.
Period. So rush over to My Scent Journey just to smell that. And if you don't believe me, I want to hear from you because I challenge all the viewers right now. Smell Forest of the Golden Dream and tell me that's not the most insane thing you've ever experienced in terms of
absolutely. Well, Joseph, thank you very much again for your time.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to visit us anytime you want. And here on the channel, you have a space. So whenever you want, please let us know. And hopefully we can have a chance to see you in person on November, and you can bring us some goody things to some previews.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have maybe some things to show off. If nothing else, for sure, at least the new Venetian Belladonna.
Excellent.
So that's 100%. Well, not 100%, but we're working on it. Yeah. Touch wood. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Thank you, Joseph. Have a wonderful night, and to all the viewers of the live, thank you.
Thanks for sticking with us. Really appreciate it. It was really very much a pleasure.
And of course, come to the boutique and smell them. If you are not from Mexico, reach out to Joseph to see where you can find them. Question: do you have a discovery set?
Yeah, we do. You can, but we don't ship really everywhere. It's mostly just America. But if we can forward, of course, Mexico is really hard to ship to, but you should definitely go. If you're in Mexico, definitely just go to my Scent Journey. It's a lot easier. Or you can ship anyway, Eduardo. I think like decants within Mexico, right? Perhaps.
Yeah, Mexico, we don't have any problems.
Okay. That's what I thought.
But in
the US, we have discovery sets and they're reimbursable. And if you buy like the complete discovery set, which is all 13, which is quite a great value, you're getting 13 of 2 mils of each, and they last each about like 2 weeks because they're all eau de parfum or parfum concentration. They last. Then you can really get a good sense of them. But the best thing is that you get a reimbursement code for the money that you spent, towards a bottle if you want to upgrade on our.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's a very nice.
It's a really fair deal if you're thinking, it might be good for you. It's a really fair deal, This discovery sets should be like 135, but we only sell them for like the entry level one is 29, then there's a $62 one, and then 85. So it's very fair for what you're getting.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you letting me plug that.
No, I think people like to hear that. So
yeah.
Anyway, have a great night.
You too, amigo.
Thank you for your time.
And I'll see you in cyberspace. Huh?
Absolutely. Take care.
Ciao, Eduardo. Ciao to all the viewers. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Later.